Hello witchy people! Today I'm going to be talking about ancient trees of England. Now this eventually, when I get to the end, may become a talk about quite a contentious subject and one that divides and splits opinions between people. But for now, let's start with the Fortingall Yew, which is in Perthshire. It's about 2,000 to 3,000 years old, although some people claim it to be as old as 9,000 years. The tree trunk has split so many times that it looks more like a ring of protection, a glade, more than a single tree. Amazingly, in 2015, it was noted that the yew had started sprouting berries, which means that it's changing sex. This yew tree is going from being a male tree to a female tree. The Ankerwyke Yew in Berkshire has stood witness to over 2,000 years of myth, legend and history. It is actually believed to be the tree under which King John stood and signed the Magna Carta in 1215, as well as the place where Henry VIII wooed Anne Boleyn. The Borrowdale Yews in Cumbria are, well, they're a quartet of which Wordsworth wrote the poem Yew Trees, although there are only 3 trees remaining now due to a storm felling one of the brothers. The oldest tree of these 3 has a hollowed trunk that could easily fit 4 people inside. Of course, I must include something local to me from Hampshire. So I'm including the Mottisfont Abbey plane tree, said to be the largest of its species in this country, spreading out over 1,500 square metres. Now the abbey on where the plane tree stands was built in the 1100s. In Herefordshire, Croft Castle boasts of chestnut trees that were grown from nuts that came from the wrecked Spanish Armada in 1588 and were planted first in 1592. In Savernake Forest, Marlborough, stands many ancient trees, home of many a myth and legend. One of these trees is an ancient oak known as the Big Belly Oak and is probably over 1,000 years old. It is said if you dance naked around the tree, the devil will appear to you. We now travel over to Lincolnshire to the Bowthorpe Oak. It is the girthiest British oak tree in Europe, with a trunk of over 40 feet in width. Over 1,000 years old, its trunk has a cavernous hole in which as many as 39 people have stood together all at once. So many yew trees are incredibly ancient. In North Wales stands the 4,000 plus year old Langernyw Yew. This tree has a guardian named Ankerwyke. I think I got that right. It's a supernatural spirit that appears from the tree twice a year to announce the names of the villagers who will die in the coming year. The Westonbirt Lime tree is 2,000 years old. Situated in the National Arboretum, it has been coppiced every 20 years since the 1200s, which is why it still thrives and grows. This coppicing is something that's been done for hundreds upon hundreds of years. So now we come to the major oak in Sherwood Forest, and this is where the contention may lie and the splits may lie. Now the major oak in Sherwood Forest was wrongly fabled to have sheltered Robin Hood and his band of merry men, but it couldn't have been because it was just a sapling in the days of Robin Hood, and it's probably about 800 to 1,000 years old at the most. Since the mid-70s, this wise old keeper of the forest has been shorn up and cradled with wire straps and steel poles. The millions of visitors each year have trampled and compacted the soil on the ground to such an extent that the roots have difficulty getting nourishment to the tree. It is held up boarded off and stands alone, apart from the rest of the trees, apart from human touch, even kept free from animals and bugs. Now the two-spotted oak burr-breasted beetle attacks oaks that are already afflicted with a withering disease known as chronic oak dieback, but they also spread the lethal acute oak decline, which will eventually kill a tree. Thousands upon thousands of pounds are spent keeping these such insects away from these trees. The major oak has not grown since the 1790s, at least. Its girth measures the same now as then, about 34 feet 4 inches. And apart from the support and the fence that now guards the tree, it looks no different as it did in the 1800s. In the year 2000, 500 acorns were gathered from the major oak and are now healthy young trees growing steadily since 2004 when they were saplings. These oaks are planted in Dorset. Now surely some need to be replanted close to the patriarch tree, a befitting honour for these descendants of a grand yet tired old man of the forest. Is it now time to take down the shoring and let this magnificent tree do as it will? Let it be part of the forest again, to let it be. Its immortality surely lay in its own acorns and saplings, not in trying to hold together a tree that should be allowed to rest. It simply seems disrespectful to me to keep interfering with such a beautiful and magnificent tree. Take down the boughs that need to break. And should it want to die, let it die and carry on living in the trees that it has made from the acorns that were gathered.